Hi, this is Council Briefs. I'm Shawn Lewis, the Deputy Mayor and Ward 2 City Councillor.
And I'm Skylar Franke, I'm the Ward 11 City Councillor.
Hi everyone, I'm Steve Lehman, Ward Councillor for Ward 8.
And we thought it'd be fun to start producing some videos after council meetings, just to share with you. We know not everybody can take the time to come to a council meeting, so some of the highlights of the things that we talked about during our council meetings, the decisions that we made. So we just finished about a 3-hour council meeting, and we thought we'd share some of the highlights with you, what came out of that. And I thought we'd start with sort of the meeting order. Steve, you brought a recognition to the start of the meeting tonight for a Canadian that's got a noteworthy achievement. Tell us about that.
You bet. So in council, we make some decisions, but we also have opportunities to recognize people who have done great things in their lives in the City of London. In this particular case, news came out yesterday that London's own Jeremy Hansen has been selected as a crew of 4, one of crew of 4, to go farther than any human has before on a trip to orbit the moon in preparation of future moon landings and using that base as we prepare to explore further into space, probably Mars. I thought this was important to recognize from the obvious point it's a great achievement for a Canadian, but also to inspire young people that are sitting and dreaming of where their future is, and not to discount anything. Jeremy, at the age of 12, joined the 614 Royal Canadian Air Cadet Squadron at 12 years old. No one could have predicted where he would be going this year. He went on to become a jet fighter, then was selected as the astronaut in the astronaut training program, where there are other Canadians as well, preparing for future space trips to represent Canada. So out there, if you're a young person and you're going to see this in the next year, dare to dream. Pursue those dreams in a way that makes sense. So Jeremy just did more than dream. He studied hard at school, took the right courses at school, pursued, air cadets. There are certain steps that you have to do. But at the end of the day, you have to dream the dream. So I thought it was very important that we recognize a Londoner in doing fantastical things. And we will all be watching our phones. I made a joke in council. I said, I remember when we first stepped on the moon, my brother and I were in our pajamas, staying up late, watching our little black and white TV, Neil Armstrong taking that first step. I'm sure youth today will not be watching a little black and white TV. They'll probably be watching something about the same size, though, their phone, when they experience this terrific achievement. So dare to dream. It was a good thing to add to the weighty things that we have to do at council. And speaking of weighty things, I will turn it back to the Deputy Mayor.
Well, Steve, I was going to say, although Skylar and I aren't old enough to share your memories of the moon landing, we didn't exist yet, no. But we're all old enough to remember, have fond memories of swimming in outdoor pools in the summer. And one of the other big items that was on the agenda today, Skylar, it's in your ward. Ward 11 is homes to the Thames pool. Obviously a pool that's got some challenges ahead of it. So tell us what happened.
Yes, so if you're following along, as you might know, the Thames pool was closed last year due to some significant failure. They'd fill it up and it would empty in one day. So staff came to us a couple weeks ago with a recommendation to decommission the pool. They had gotten a conditions assessment, and a contractor had said, due to water pooling below the pool and then freezing, so from climate change, more water and then more immediate freezing, the hydrostatic pressure, so essentially the water expanding, was causing the base of the pool to heave and cause structural damage. So we received that report a couple weeks ago at committee, and made the movement to, instead of straight off the bat decommissioning it, we decided to spend a little bit more time listening to the community. So we moved a motion to try and get it open for next year. Then also to do a bunch of community engagement with Ward 11 and other residents across the city, receive a future report from staff where they kind of outline if there's other opportunities to either save the pool or for new location. Have another round of community engagement, because we definitely heard from the community that they wanted their voices included. And then the last part is just receiving more information for us to make a better decision. So that was approved today at Council unanimously. So we will obviously be talking a lot more about the Thames Pool in the next year and hoping to come up with a better solution that makes, you know, a lot of people, if not all, happy. But
Well, and I suppose your backyard's probably not big enough for the city to build a new 50-meter pool there.
no, and we've been looking. I have a map on the wall, and we're like, can we put it in a school? Can we put it in, like, buy these 5 homes and put a pool there? So we're looking, but it's tight space in the urban area.
Well, and as we continue to infill, and something that we all supported at Planning Committee, you know, more infill applications for housing was approved today as well, and so that land space is becoming a premium, and I think I got to say to you, Skylar, I think that for a councillor to be handed a no-win situation like you were really early on in your first term of council, and you've turned this into something where there is a win. We're not quite sure what that looks like yet, yeah. but somewhere along the way, and I think. And I hope your constituents were happy to hear that, like, all of council, nobody wants to deny them a pool. It's just a matter of we can't keep rebuilding this one here, repairing it all the time. So what does the future hold? And I know I've certainly said let's try and squeak a couple more seasons out of this thing if we can, and give, if we have to close it, let's give her a send-off. You know, these old facilities have lots of memories in them. But I know you're a mom too, and I know you're probably looking forward to making new memories at whatever the future holds in terms of an aquatics facility.
You bet, yeah. So I think we'll see, we'll have more to discuss, but definitely don't want to make any kind of hasty decisions. And I think, to your point, there's a lot of emotions tied to this pool, so we want to recognize that.
Well, and I think hasty decisions kind of leads into one of the other big topics today, which was an appointment to the London Police Board. And there was some controversy, you know, in our committee meeting, councillors had kind of identified 2 very strong candidates, and there was kind of a divide over half a council like one candidate and half a council like the other candidate. And we couldn't really get to past that roadblock of it was going to be a divided vote, but we decided, rather than making a hasty decision today, that we would actually send this back to committee and take a couple more steps as we figure out how we want to fill this vacancy. So I wonder if either of you wanted to chime in on sharing with people how we approached what was a divisive issue, and hopefully how we're going to build towards more consensus.
Yeah, well, I'll speak to that, Shawn. And I think we did find a point of agreement today, which was challenging because it was, you know, half council felt one way and the other half felt another way. But where we did come together on is we agreed that the selection process needed to be improved. Instead of waiting to put that into effect for the next appointment that we need to make, let's do it now. So I would say to you that council did its work in finding a solution, I think, that we could agree on. Where it goes from here, I can't predict that, but like I said, at least we saw a process that needed to be improved, and you know, we took steps along those lines right tonight.
Well, and we're getting to record this in the mayor's office today because I had to chair the meeting and be the acting mayor because the mayor is in Toronto meeting with a couple of provincial ministers about housing and homelessness funding and some healthcare, mental health funding. But I know I worked with him a lot over the last 24 hours on this, and I know, Skylar, you actually seconded the motion that brought us to this referral process. So I wondered if you wanted to share your thoughts a little bit on how we move forward from here.
For sure, yeah. And I was happy to second the motion because I think everyone maybe wanted, but I think we all needed the opportunity to go into this with some open minds and the willingness to change, because we heard a lot from the community in the last week that they weren't necessarily thrilled about where we're heading with the decision. And I think that's really important that council demonstrates that we are listening, and often enough, sometimes we don't change our mind and we stay with what we decided, and other times we do. But I think in this case, we really heard from the community that it was important to take another look at this. So I think it'll give us all an opportunity to go through the list. There's 54 candidates. There are like tons of them are exceptional, and I'm really impressed with the work that staff did to get people to apply, because we had talked about that in November when we did the selection process last. So I do think that staff did a great job of making sure we had lots of applicants to choose from, and I think we'll all get another opportunity to look through that and champion some of the people we hope to serve. And then we'll also be able to hear from them directly what they hope to bring to the London Police Services Board, because I think it's important to provide that opportunity to hear from candidates directly. So I'm looking forward to that, but then also kicking it over to Governance Working Group and fixing that process, because we've done it twice, and both times I think people have been upset with the results. And I think if we can get somewhere where we don't leave feeling all kind of hot and bothered, then I think it'll be like a better situation for council and for the community.
Well, and I'm working on that motion for Governance Working Group, and I'm starting to feel like it's like my Costco shopping list. It's growing with the number of things that we've got to take on through that committee. But I'm really, I am looking forward to it. I think that there's a great model that London Housing's already using, with an actual evaluation grid spreadsheet, and then a set of interviews too, and then the Board of Housing actually forwards a recommendation or recommendations to council. But to your point, what I like about this path is I personally ranked 5 candidates when I was going through those 54 applications. I picked my top 5, and I voted for my first one. And Skylar, you voted for your first one, I think, and Steve, you did. We didn't agree, but I'm interested to see what your second, third, and fourth picks were, and I want to share my second, third, and fourth picks too, because maybe the consensus, maybe the path forward is that maybe 9 or 10 of us had the same person in second or third place, and maybe that's where we can all agree that there's an excellent candidate out there that by only sharing our top choice, we excluded right away. And yet maybe it's the candidate that overall can build both the community confidence and the council's confidence in their chance to fill that role. So I'm pretty happy where we landed today. It means a little more work on our part, but that's what we signed up for.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I like debating with these guys. It's a good time.
And you notice that I said maybe we should send it to the board in the future, because Steve's actually on the board, so then it's just more work for him and not more work for us.
I see. There you go.
Yeah, and that, you know, as a member of the Police Services Board, I view this selection as critical. We're at a point in our time as London where we're transitioning to a big city, and proper policing is necessary in all aspects of a well-run city, which is part of our strategic plan. So I think the fact that we're taking some time on this to make sure we got this decision right warms my heart as a councillor, but then when I wear my other hat as a member of the Police Services Board, I appreciate the due diligence. So, yes.
So that's it for council briefs for April the 4th's council meeting. We're going to try and do this every council meeting now, and it's going to be a rotating cast of characters. Sometimes the mayor will be here, it'll be other ward councillors, but we're hoping to give you a little bit more information right from the source about the things we're deciding on at council. Love to see your comments if you're watching on social media or on YouTube, and of course always reach out to any of us anytime with your thoughts, ideas, questions, and concerns.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.